So there's this wonderful teaching from our Ra about how to work with the concept of certain failure. And it actually was presented to us by Zoron, who was Malaya's guardian angel. Malaya was the original soul of this life, the one who donated this life to this project of spirit. Somebody's asking when. It was, I think, February 1st of 2012.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, interesting.
Almost exactly.
Several years ago, 9 years ago, almost exactly 9 years ago. Interesting. Oh, 9 years ago, this time was a very, very interesting and intense time in this life. But Zoron had given us an assignment, and this was back in our CPA days, and we were supposed to do something. We could already hear them. So it must have been after 1990, but not much after, based on where the offices were and what we were doing. And he gave us an assignment, and we said, okay, I'll do it now. Tell me how it's going to turn out. And he said, it doesn't work that way. And I said, no, really, tell me. And they say, no, you won't. That isn't effective. I want to know. Just tell me. I'll still do it. I promise. And they said, okay, it isn't going to turn out. It isn't going to work. You aren't going to be successful. Now, go ahead. Try really, really hard. And we saw the wisdom of their previous stance, and because it was really hard to get motivated and do the assignment, and we didn't really do that assignment very well. And it's embarrassing to us that that's the truth, but it's still the truth. And we've been working on that for maybe 30 years to try to get better at, when we know it's not going to succeed, to still try. And we find that it's easiest for us to do that when we know that success isn't certain, but neither is failure. And when we know that neither success nor failure are certain, and that there's still a chance that we could succeed if only we put our whole heart and soul into it, then we work hardest. And so maybe that's the mindset that would be helpful to all of us, is to say, look, success isn't certain, but neither is failure. And by that, I think we need to try to figure out how human society can come apart in anything but the ugliest possible way. When we ask that question, it's like out of the whirling, spinning mists of all the possibilities of how this could play out,
Exactly.
there's just like this sliver of light, and it kind of looks like sunrise around the edge of a planet when you're close enough, just from the arc of it, close enough but not too far away, like not from a satellite, but maybe from the moon.
That's true.
And there's this sliver of light of human society coming apart in something other than the ugliest possible way. And we've been really aiming for that in our own work and in our efforts, so that whatever we do is aligned with human society coming apart in anything but the ugliest possible way. And that sliver of light keeps getting bigger and bigger, which we think means we're getting closer and closer to that time, which is interesting. And perspective is difficult. I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean 1 to 11 years, which is what previous projections for now would have been? Because about a year ago they said 2 to 12 years.
Exactly.
So fast math. That means that it's 1 to 11 years now. What now? To have human society come apart. And so they're talking about that we know that human society has got to come apart because it's our species that's destroying life on Earth, and the machinery of destruction is kind of like embedded in society. And sadly, our society is leading the parade of destruction. It's the worst society, which is heartbreaking, but it's still true.
That is true.
And so to know that it must come apart, and then to hope that it can come apart and intend to work for its coming apart in anything but the ugliest possible way, it might be something that we humans can use as motivation for right living. And Owl Ross said if we could only get people to think long term, they would do the right thing out of their own selfish best interests. And he was referring to reincarnation, of course.
That's what they're talking about.
We just have a really hard time getting people to pay any attention to that. We think it's just too far away, and they don't focus on it. And they have a hard time focusing on dinner plans for tomorrow. Like, they're just only thinking about today. Some people go to the grocery store every day because they don't plan ahead.
That's right.
And some people go to the takeout store every day because they've never learned how to cook. Like, it's problematic. But one thing we know is we're all going to die.
That's what they're
it's
talking
certain,
about.
And so let's just plan for it. Death is certain, but the time of death is uncertain, which is a Buddhist teaching. And to plan for it. And so knowing that we're going to die, to live each day trying to become our best selves, because you never know. Like, it could be today. You know, we could drive around the corner and a truck smashes us. It could be anything. We don't know. So to try to be our best selves every single day.
In that higher dimension room, they keep circling back around to this client session that collective did recently, where the client asked to see, where am I going to incarnate? I think the question might have been phrased as, where am I going to go next? Where am I going to be next?
Well, I think he asked, where on earth am I going to
interesting.
incarnate? And they said, well, you aren't.
Oh,
And that
that's cool.
There's a mass migration of souls. They're all leaving Earth, and they're leaving them, and they're kind of like vibrational currents that are pulling them to their the place that they belong, and the others who have that same vibration will be going there with them, but that it's a wide dispersal, and so we'll be dispersing in smallish groups of souls. And there are many people who like to resist currents, like to resist the tug of divinity, and then they're not going to end up on the right planet. And all these horses, and that one's healing practices,
exactly,
that they don't even get on the right farms,
and they don't end up with the right trainers, they don't end up in the right places, and then the whole rest of the life is
struggle fast.
Exactly, it's way off track.
Nothing works.
Nothing works. And they're talking about, and that client may or may not have expressed this out loud, how people assume that in the next lives they're going to be with the people they would really like to
everybody
spend more
wants
time with, which is super normal, so not to be mean to that client. But probably it's actually going to be the people who challenge us the most.
Or it's the people who are a vibrational match for the setup, and we all have our setups. And you know, they're talking about a client who we absolutely adored, and she was a flight attendant, and so she traveled quite a bit, and she had gone to India through her flight attendant capabilities and with some friends, and it was really, when she first got there, it was really hard for her because of the poverty and the people living in starvation on the steps of the 5-star hotel they were staying in. And the people who she was traveling with convinced this beautiful person that it was okay that the starving people had chosen that. And the point of the experience then was completely missed by the client, because the point was supposed to be, yes, those people did choose it, but you have chosen to see it, and now what are you going to do about it? And what we do shows who and what we really are. Our actions and inaction show who and what we really are. And rather than deal with that, she just got really crazy and dug in and had started to have an argument with her angels, which many people do. And then nothing goes like it's supposed to, and we don't have the lives we're supposed to have.
And meanwhile, we've created that current of arguing, and so when we die, we're going to get caught in the current of arguing with all the other arguers.
Oh my gosh. And we're not going to get to the place where we hope we'll go.
Exactly. And now we're reincarnated on planet argument.
I must have done that last time. I see that now.